Alright guys, welcome back. It's the month of December and we are gonna continue with our monthly best characters tier list. Since the addition of the very hard guild quest, I didn't do tier list videos on the game because it was just important to see how the units are performing and what is gonna change, what is gonna go down and stuff like that. You get the point. Now in these last 2 months we have received a couple of units and of course today we are gonna talk about them just briefly. Again, just like every single month, the tier list is excluding brave battles, right? Let's start with the hard attribute right now. In these 2 months we have received Kirio right now for the end of the month and the Halloween version of the potion Momo, right? Again, you know the drill already. Potion units at the left side of the screen if you care about the farming bracket, and at the right side you see the normal bracket and stuff. You get the point, bro. And you see the placements of some of the units have changed, like Tokinada and stuff, and like Masaki and things like that. You get the point, bro, because they are used in some of these guild quest missions right now in the very hard. And Soifon got updated as well. She moved up a tier, which is super important. Renji, Chad as well, you get the point, bro, because these units are way more valuable right now to have, because you need them for the very hard difficulty. For the hard GQ, we didn't really use these units that much anymore, but nowadays they are definitely way more valuable to have. Momo, very well executed potion unit for the hard attribute. She's giving you 10 potions by base, which is huge, and you're getting the 100% damage to the enemies that haven't been afflicted by an ailment, right? That's super consistent. Gives you a lot of supportive abilities as well with the multi-barrier and you know, the healing as well at the second skill, which makes the runs way easier, way faster as well. You know, you don't need a status ailment. She was made for IZ and epic rates and she's performing exceptionally well right there. Always a consistent amount of damage output, and the barriers and the heals are always providing you enough utility to clear the runs easily. The 1000-year Kirio that they remade right now is definitely a powerful unit in PvE content and stuff, but somewhat she was made for the ranged human killer guild quest as well, and for some people it didn't really meet the expectations. I'm sure everyone knows already that the second skill is a melee attack, and unfortunately that one is not doing damage in the GQ, right? I mean, but regardless, she's still the best option to use right there, because she's the only one who has the booster skill and actually does damage, you know, with the killer effect as well. Outside of guild quest, you still have an insane amount of damage output, and you're not really limited that much, if you know what I mean, because in like IZ or IT or epic rates and stuff, it doesn't matter if the second skill is melee or ranged, right? So you do have the booster, you do have the frenzy 2 as well, damage to the paralyzed 40%, 60% berserker increase, 80% SP boost as well, and that way you can do a ton of damage under a short period of time, which is nice for the unit. She definitely has her limitations in the game and stuff, but again, it's a really powerful unit. Let's continue with the mind attribute right now. Potion units at the left side of the screen again. Not a lot of things changed regarding the bracket at the right side, because the units that been good before in guild quest are still good in the very hard, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I mean, we didn't really have to change anything right there. But regarding the new units, we have received the Parasol version of Ikkaku and As Nodt as well. The new Ikkaku is exceptionally strong, and a lot of people been really happy for this Ikkaku to receive this kind of treatment, because I mean, his last unit was like 2-3 years ago, and this one is super powerful, right? You do have the potions, you have the super potions, the Pierce Iron Skin, which is making him really broken in Inheritance Trials, and the Berserker, the Frenzy 2 and stuff. You get the point, bro. And damage to the enemy is not afflicted by an ailment, 30%, that's his soul trait. So you can use it on a couple of units, that's kinda limited, but yeah, for himself it works really nicely. There is nothing else to say about the unit. If you're familiar with Tensa Zangets, you know, the new Senjumaru, stuff like that, you get the point. The damage that those units can do, this unit is exactly the same, super OP, and you can farm potions so easily if you were able to pick up this unit. The new As Nodt is probably the best mid-mod unit that they ever made in the game. He does a Frenzy +2 and 80% more damage to the enemies that have been inflicted with a status ailment. He doesn't have extra chances to inflict, and some strong attacks could have been changed if they wanted to make him a little bit more powerful. Regardless of those things and, you know, the issues that the unit has, he's still a super powerful unit. Having the highest amount of recharge possible in the game is allowing him to spam the abilities non-stop and making up for the lack of extra chances to inflict the status ailment, right? Sometimes you will see inconsistency in terms of damage output, but thankfully you can spam your abilities and be at full stamina always, thanks to the multi-barrier skill as well. The technique attribute picked up 2 new units as well, the 1000-year Byakuya and the 1000-year remake of Ichibe. Looking at the Byakuya, he has a lot of damage in his hands. As you can see, he does have Frenzy +2. Booster as well, which is helping you out a lot in the melee no affiliation very hard guild quest, and other type of areas as well, but guild quest is the most notable one. He does have the stored barrier skill as well, which is definitely helping you out to keep the 70% extra damage, you know, to keep the full stam and stuff like that. But of course there are so many abilities that they could have given him to make him way more powerful, like Havoc, like 80% SP, like Rampage, stuff like that, you get the point. Long stride by base, hit hidden enemies by base, you know, all of these other type of maneuvers, you know, a lot of utility effects. It did not happen, unfortunately. It's still a solid unit though, but I mean, yeah, you get the point, man. It's kinda... The new Ichibe, on the other hand, though, is super OP. He's the first unit to have the Gauge Rampage and the Gauge Recharge at the same time. A lot of people been unhappy with the release of the unit, but fortunately enough, the abilities are working so good together, and the unit became really powerful. At the start of the match, his Gauge is almost full, starting at the 70% mark, and when the Gauge is completed, you will be able to get Frenzy +2 on the unit, 100% extra Berserker, additional recharge while the Gauge is active, which is working perfectly fine with the Gauge Rampage. It has weakened defense, Marauder and Long Stride as well. The combination of the abilities, strong attacks and everything that they were able to give him made him really powerful, and his power definitely been showcased before. For an example, my guildmate cleared the melee captain version of the very hard guild quest with this Ichibe, even though the unit doesn't have the stage amplifiers, you know, the captain killer ability. He only has Soul Reaper, right? Now, not a lot of units are able to do this kind of thing, which is definitely showcasing his true potential. So yeah, again, he was just a really good addition to the technique attribute right now. And of course, with the new difficulty of Guild Quest, a couple of units are way better than before, such as the new Noitora, the young Kaname, the Fierce Battle Stallion, stuff like that, you get the point. These auto-attackers mainly, they are pretty much go-to units in some of the Guild Quest missions right now. Let's move to the speed attribute. Our new units are the Halloween Toshiro, Parasol Gin and the new Senjumaru. As you can see again, the guild quest impacted a couple of normal attack units and we had to move them up on the list, such as the Arena Rose for an example, or the Spirit Society White. The new Halloween Toshiro is mainly a guild quest character. As you can see, he does have the 50% increased killer effect, 30% more range damage as well. His strong attacks are the trap move as well, which is working super good in GQ, trapping the boss, inflicting the freeze, and comboing your abilities with the barrage move at the second skill. And he also picked up Havoc, which is surprising for a mid-month unit, SP boost as well, damage to the frozen enemies. So you do have a lot of damage with the unit, and if you like to use him, you of course can in other part of the game as well. Again, not too OP, but definitely well executed. Next on the list is the Parasol Gin. Really safe to play with, I have to say that. I mean, you do have a lot of recharge. As you can see, if you can keep your full stam, you're getting 6%, your soul rate is 12%, and you have 5 barriers to work with, so you never really get hit with the unit. He does have okay strong attacks, and he's fully immune against every status ailment in the game. In terms of damage output, you do have 40% damage to the weakened enemies, frenzy +2. If you can keep your full stam, you're getting 40% strong attack damage as well, and 20% full stamina damage increase. So overall, just a really safe unit to play with. You do have a decent damage output, you're immune against everything. So yeah, I mean, it just adds up, if you know what I mean. You do have a lot of utility effects. In my opinion, he's a good unit, he's a decent unit to play with. He's not crazy OP, not even close, but having a Gin in the team is definitely appreciated. And our last new unit in this speed attribute is the new Senjumaru that they made recently. Disgustingly OP. Super OP, right? I mean, the damage output is really crazy by base, and on top of that you do have the full immunity, perfect strong attacks as well to work with, and on top of these things you have the farming capabilities just like Tensasanget's. And yeah bro, the unit is speaking for itself. We don't really need to talk about it too much. Super fast, super OP, super safe to play with. You don't really need more for a farming unit in the game. And we are reaching to the end soon. Power attribute, only one unit unfortunately, but thankfully is super overpowered. The Parasol version of Rukia, getting the rampage, getting the freeze, getting the heal, really clean abilities as well to play with, getting the team party recharge between the maps, letting you to spam the abilities nicely, one-shotting the bosses at 1 out of 5. There is only one nitpick with the unit. When you do your second skill, it's a melee maneuver, right? So it does no damage in guild quest if you wanna use her there, right, in the ranged Arankar guild quest. So in that quest you're working with 2 abilities alone and a skill that does nothing, right? In other parts of the game, super OP. In guild quest, kinda bad, you know, kinda bad. Unfortunate, it is what it is though. But if you have played with this Rukia before in Inheritance Trials or Limit Breaker quest or Epic Raids, stuff like that, disgustingly OP unit, and overall just made the power attribute way better. And with this Rukia, we are reaching the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, man. The mid-mod units are getting revealed soon as well, probably Christmas, and I'm really excited to see what the end of the year units are gonna look like. I'm sure they are gonna be super overpowered and useful to have as well. Thank you again for watching. Take care, have a beautiful day/night wherever you are. Bye bye.